Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Opinionated Lushes Does Books and Booze, where we invite on indie authors to read a little bit of their book. Well, we get a little bit drunk and talk a little about, writing, the writing process, their books, and we get to know a little bit more. So I'm going to throw it to Dawn to introduce this week's author.
Hey everyone, and I want to give a special welcome to Talli Wyndham. Hi Talli, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Please tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how long you've been writing, and your dog's name. That'd be nice.
Yeah, well, I'll start with the most important thing, which is my dog. This is Gareth. He is a Jack Russell Beagle, and my friends like to tell me that I spoil him too much, and that's why he is like he is. But the first time I brought him home for a night and crated him to go out and pick up food, I came home to him screaming himself hoarse, and he pooed all over his crate. So, he basically came like this.
You know what? COVID babies are just built different, all right?
Oh,
no,
I had him before that. I was locked up with him through COVID.
Shh, don't tell anyone, just blame COVID.
So I write, I guess the closest umbrella is dark romance, although I've had people say that it's kind of more like off gray, because I I have some limits that I won't quite write up to. I like dark and morbid themes, but it's more that I'm kind of goth at heart and always have been than it is that I'm, particularly violent.
That's good. That's a good clarification there.
Yeah,
I appreciate
yeah.
It. And tell us a bit about the book that you are going to be reading from today.
Okay, well, this is my most popular book by far. Not that I have a whole bunch, and it is Sloth. It's got a very pretty cover here.
Oh, it is pretty. I saw the picture earlier. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was part of the Seven Sins series with a collection of other authors. For anybody who's heard about the series at all, it kind of blew up when it came out last year. They're standalones. You can read them all independently. So if you've got your favorite author who wrote one of them, go read them. We kind of hope that people will want to read the whole series, but you definitely don't have to. The current project that I'm working on is a sequel to this one, but it is, well, basically I started writing about Sloth, and then it is become Sloth. So I'm working on it, but it's not going very quickly.
Well, I'm sure we'll get talking about your writing process and how long it takes you, because I'm always curious. It differs so much by author, some are just, and then others are like, well, my first book took me 10 years, it's like,
that'll be me.
Yeah, probably.
That's fair. The important thing is finishing it, not actually how long it takes to get there.
I want to say a little fun fact is the first book mail I've ever received from an author was Brooklyn Cross, and it was Greed. So I've already somewhat started this series. I just haven't continued, but I want to. All the books were on my indie author wish list, so I'm going to go through it eventually.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll jump it up, because I am working on the sequel. It will be out at some point this year.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read the drink words for the chapter you will be reading. Is there actually, before I do that, is there any context we should know prior to?
Not in particular, no.
Okay.
My chapters are fairly short, so I'm going to give you the prelude, because that's extremely short. Then I'm going to read the first chapter where the characters meet.
Okay, perfect. So we get the context in there. I like it. So our drinking words are slow, knees, eyes, and anything that makes you feel a little morally guilty. So I'm going to mute so you don't hear me slurp, and feel free to start whenever.
Okay. This is the prelude. I'm an often forgotten sin, less flashy than pride and wrath, less fun than gluttony and lust, too passive for envy or greed. I'm not active in the ways that they are, but I'm present. I'm here. Oh, I am so here in this modern world of compromise for convenience. Every time you compromise your morals to use the plastic water bottle instead of filling a glass, or you throw the recycling out with the trash, I'm here. When you drive to save yourself walking 2 blocks, that's the weight of me telling you, it's okay this time. You had a hard day. Or, what does one more matter? Or, it's not like your actions have any global impact. You're right. Your actions don't have a global impact, but every single little one has an impact on your soul, and you don't even notice. But I do. The road to hell isn't paved with good intentions. It's gently sloped with, I'll let someone else deal with it. It's okay this one time. It's a lot of drinking going on there for some reason. I got a lot of responses to that one too when the book came out. All right, so this is our first chapter introducing our heroine. So you are then. I almost jumped out of my skin at the voice interrupting my morning, well, afternoon coffee break. I did drop my book, which hit the small glass-topped table and fell down at my feet. I gave a quick look to the corner of the table and the mug sitting on it to reassure myself that nothing had been broken, then spun in my seat and looked over at the balcony next to mine, the one attached to the apartment that wasn't empty after all. Someone had dragged what looked like a living room lounge chair out, and a man was flung out across it as if he'd grown there. I hadn't heard him come out, so he must have been there already when I came out, but I hadn't even picked up on anyone's presence when I'd sat down. Somehow I'd even completely missed that there was furniture there now, where there had been nothing before except a few pots with dead plants wilting over the sides and the odd streak of pigeon poop. I couldn't get a very good look at his face as he was wrapped up in an oversized black hoodie with what looked like a few holes in it, though a closer look made it clear the holes were part of some high fashion concept and sweatpants that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Honestly, my first thought was that he'd broken in and was squatting there illegally, but he seemed far too relaxed for that, and too expensively dressed. So unless he was that unconcerned about the police being called on him, he really must have a right to be there. The drug dealer option still seemed worryingly probable. I am what? Huh? You're very hot, the man replied, his tone strangely flat, though there was a quirk at the corner of his lips, just a faint shadow. Though you seem very energetic. His eyes, though, glowed out of the darkness of his hood with a vibrant intensity that seemed impossible. They were blue and focused on me in a way that was unsettling. I felt my mouth open and close a few times, no sound escaping. It was an unnerving sensation and one I hadn't ever been aware of experiencing before. What am I supposed to say to that? I finally got out. There was a long pause. It was a strange one, though. The feeling in the air was that he was going to reply and that he wasn't thinking over what he was going to say, just that he was going to take his sweet time saying it and I was just expected to wait. It was such an unusual experience, I found myself doing exactly that, like I couldn't move until the tension had snapped. Thank you, sir, he finally answered, his smirk growing. That brought a scowl to my face. Now I was back on familiar footing, dealing with just another creep in the city. Really? No, I don't think that's the way I'd reply. Pushing up from my seat, I picked up my coffee and turned to head back in, away from this weirdo and his unsettling gaze. His low laughter, a lazy, meandering sound, followed me in and only cut off when I closed the glass door behind me. I leaned against it for a moment, a full-body shudder coursing over me. What the fuck? I muttered, strangely uncomfortable. The weirdest part was, of course, that some part of me wanted to go back out there and subject myself to his strange gaze again. Odd, as I'd for sure never been one for submission. Usually I ended up having men on their knees in front of me, though it wasn't necessarily my kink. I hadn't even gotten to really see his face, obscured by his hood as it was. If I actually passed him on the street, I wouldn't know it. He'd be just another lanky shadow shuffling through the crowds, faceless and unremarkable. Or maybe those eyes of his. Yes, I'd recognize those eyes, the intensity in them as he looked at me, an intensity that made some part of me want to fall to my knees next to him and gaze up into them. I have never been that desperate for a man's attention, I told myself, shaking my shoulders loose and pushing off of the door. Nor do I have time for one who's going to make that sort of demand of me, I added, even as I pulled my phone out of my pocket and flicked absently through my contact list. I knew what I was looking for, even as I didn't consciously acknowledge it or dare look too closely at why I was doing it at that particular moment. But I pulled up an old friend from law school, Jared, who had been a study and sometimes fuck buddy. If I needed an itch scratched today, well, that was my own business. I had the day off after all, insomuch as any work I did wasn't officially on the clock, and it had been a long time. And it had absolutely nothing to do with the way that creep next door had looked at me. Absolutely nothing at all.
Woo, that was good.
I feel very morally guilty now.
Right?
I was like, shit, it's me.
Oh no!
I know.
did this one.
Part of
think
it comes
everyone
from
can
I
relate.
was raised by a mother who was really on the recycling train even before it became kind of more widespread. So I've always been very aware of that.
Yeah.
So then I feel guilty. I carry bottles home with me because I don't trust that the trash can will be taken to the right place if I'm out somewhere. So I will carry it home and put it in my recycling personally. Like I'm neurotic about it, but then at the same time, I'm using the plastic dishes at work every day instead of washing a spoon. So, you know.
There's no ethical consumption under capitalism.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. But we all feel a little guilty because of it.
Yeah.
We do, but there's not a whole lot we can do about it. So
Not much, no.
no.
That's why we talk about it, I guess.
So I know this like kind of came up earlier. How long does it usually take you to complete a novel?
I can get through them fairly quickly once I get myself into writing it. Once I have the outline, I'm pretty good at saying, okay, so this is outlined 30 chapters. I'll write a chapter or two a night, and then I can usually stick to that. But somebody's got to hold my feet to the fire because I won't.
Yeah.
I know someone like that.
Yeah, Dawn. Did you write
No,
today?
I didn't.
I knew
didn't.
it. I knew it.
Okay.
I try to call her out every episode.
I've been busy. My kid's been home constantly, and you can't do crap. I can barely clean my house.
The world's on fire, literally.
Yeah.
Like outside.
Yes.
So it's fair. Like if you're gonna have an excuse, like it's fine.
The world's
it's
on
fine.
fire.
I'm just
it is. Exactly.
joking. So you said you wrote outlines. So does that mean like you're more of like a planner when it comes to writing your books?
Yes, definitely.
Plotter?
I've always been pretty type A anyway. I mean, I'm a Capricorn, if that tells you everything you need to know. So, you know, and then that's part of it too, right? Because if I don't see immediate returns on getting like a lot of financial recompense for the books, I'm like, okay, but I could also go do this thing, which will, and so I'm straight up, if I'm not getting enough like reads, I will just not feel as motivated, despite the fact that I'm doing this for fun, right?
It's weird how that happens. It's like I feel like because I mean we're all like some sort of content creator now. It's like you're like I'm doing this for fun, and then when you see the numbers go down or something, you can't help but feel that. You know, it's like is it me?
Yeah, even though I wanted to be a writer forever, and now I've got 3 printed books that I've written, novels on my shelf. Like I did this. I would love to have more. I keep thinking about I want to do this story, I want to do that story, and I'm telling myself you have to finish the first one so you can get to the next one. You have to finish one. But even when I'm complaining and saying I'm not writing, I've got a couple of Velas running. I'm writing content freelance. I mean, I'm actually doing a lot of writing. I'm just not working on the book.
Yeah.
What would you say is the hardest thing about being an author?
The same thing that everybody probably tells you, and that's the self-promotion.
Yeah, no, that's a big one.
Terrible. I mean, with the Sin series, we all went in on a package to promote it, and that was great because somebody else did all the handling on that, and I didn't have to do much but, say, yes, let's do this and put in some money for it, right? Although now when I follow a lot of dark romance groups, and if people are looking for recommendations of books that are by authors that I know, I'm like, oh, hey, and I'll recommend other authors, but I will almost never recommend myself. I just hope that somebody else will
do the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a social media you find best for any sort of self-promotion? We usually get the same answer, so that's why I ask.
The one I pay the most attention to is Facebook because I'm on there more often. I know TikTok is more effective, but I'm also old, so like
It's
actively
fair.
trying to engage with it and grumping about it like an old man on my front lawn at the same time.
It honestly
that
took me a
TikTok. I
while.
don't like that TikTok. Like watching baking videos. So
It's easier to watch videos on TikTok than creating the videos, because like there's a whole other area for editing and stuff, and like even I don't even know all of it. I play with it and figure it out, but for the most part, I have no clue what I'm doing.
You've got a pretty active presence. I've definitely noticed that, which is great. I'll go through periods where I'll, post most days for about 2 weeks, and then I'll see the engagement go up, and then I'll, go out of town or something, and oh no, I'm just not doing it now.
Well, in order to get those videos, I spend literally all day on TikTok just watching, and then be like, oh, I could copy that one, or oh, I could redo that one. That's the only way. But it's literally hours of watching, and then I'm like, okay, I can do that.
I find that the videos I work the hardest on get zero streams, and then I'll have like one video of me just talking, and it's like 1,000, 2,000 streams, and I'm like, wait, what? Like
it's a balance. You need to do both. You need to do like sound effects, and you need to do ones where you just talk. If you focus on literally just sound effects, your views drop. If you do literally just talking,
too much work.
Drop. I know,
too much
it
work.
is. It's a lot. Like the algorithm is insane, and like you have to do all these tricks. You need to know the right hashtags, which sounds are trending, which themes are going on right now. Like it's a lot.
Yeah. Okay, noted. I should do some with talking. I avoid those like the plague.
So did I for the longest time, and then I started, and one video obviously tanked, and then I was like, all right, well, not too many people are seeing them, so it doesn't really matter. And then so I kept doing it, and then one really skyrocketed, and I was like, oh crap, people are seeing this. Shit. But I mean, but then I got that, what is it called, the spike, and I was like, I love it. I need to keep doing it. So, and that's my only tip I have for that. So do you mostly focus on dark romance then, or do you want to go like outside of that genre?
That's what I write. I call it for fun, because the focus is just the interpersonal relationship, and everything else kind of comes around that. I build the plot around the characters and say, what do these characters need to go through to end up here?
Okay.
So that's how I plan these, and it's a lot easier than, say, elaborate world building or something.
So you prefer character development rather than world building?
I find that the most fun, but I'm also writing a fantasy novel, and that one is kind of my baby. And that one is a little bit harder because there is world building. Like it's okay, so here's the characters, and then also here's this completely bananas premise, and so we've got to make all of this work together.
Yeah.
And because I grew up, like I tell people that some of my earliest memories were watching Star Trek with my dad. Before I even knew what days of the week were, I just knew that sometimes the TV came on and this cool show was on. And so I always thought that like it made me cool that I was watching this show with my dad. So that tells people a lot.
I had a Star Trek dad too.
Yeah.
So.
I grew up on sci-fi and fantasy. I'm just a colossal nerd.
Well, you did talk about how you write like dark romance, but you tend to call it more like gray. Do you want to like expand on that? Like I think you were talking about like boundaries on where your writing will go, and you tend to be more gothic. If you want to expand on that a little bit.
I like to focus around death and like demons and like just morbid shit. Like, does the color scheme work if it's all blacks and grays? Like, perfect. But I'm not going to torture animals. I'm not going to torture children. The closest we get to assault is like tiptoes up to that line, but I won't cross it because I don't want to. So
fair.
I know a lot of dark romance readers are just like, yes, the darker the better, the more brutal, the more violent, like bring it. And that's totally valid. Like if that's what you want, like go for it. I can't I can't write it though. So some people, especially some of the other authors in the Sin series, are known for being real dark, real dark. So by comparison, like, yeah, a lot of people die in this book, but it's not quite as, immediate
Trigger
threat.
warnings, like on trigger warnings, like.
Yeah, there's some trigger warnings, but they're more like, you'll probably be okay. If you dark romance, you'll probably be okay.
Okay, to be fair, out of like the seven deadly sins, if I'm thinking about them and I'm like, which one's probably going to be more mild? I would think Sloth.
Yeah.
So it works out. I think it's fair.
It's funny. I was, when I was asked if I was okay with doing Sloth, they're like, I don't know how anyone is going to do this, but like, do you want to do this? I'm like, yes. And now it's aspirational. I also want to lie on the couch and do nothing all day. I have created my new
dream.
Yeah, I just want to do nothing.
Yeah, like that's my inspiration. What advice would you have for inspiring authors?
Just break it down into smaller pieces. Because if you think, I want to write this book, that is so much. And it's going to be so much more than you think it's going to be too, especially if you're publishing and marketing it yourself. Like just break it down into smaller steps. Even if you're like, okay, so I'm going to write 500 words today. 500 words is so much easier than saying I'm going to write 2,000 words or even a whole chapter. Just let yourself do it in small pieces and know that, if you write 1,000 words a day or something, you do that for 2 or 3 months, you've got a book. Like, it's done. And more than that, get to know other authors and people who are working behind the scenes, because they will give you advice. Everybody's so happy to reach out and help and give advice.
I've noticed that too.
Yeah, it's going to make it so much easier. If you're like, okay, crap, I need a cover. Like, what do I do? Somebody will tell you.
Yeah.
That's good. I love the community aspect. That's not the first time we've like heard about like the community aspect of indie authors, especially. So that's really nice to hear. You were talking about your earliest memories with your dad and stuff like that. What got you, like, what was the moment where you're like, I am writing a book? Like, what started that for you? Were you like always a writer? And
oh yeah, I've been trapping people and forcing stories on them since I was in elementary school. Literally trapping my fellow classmates by getting the teacher's permission to read my story to the class, sort of inflicting myself on them. So kind of always been understood that I was going to be a writer. And then, I got older and realized that that's not going to look quite the way that you think it is when you're a kid.
Yeah.
You're just going to these big book deals and you're just going to be full-time authors. It's going to be so cool, right? It's going to be so cool. And I'm like, maybe that's not going to pay the bills. Maybe I'll teach college or something and write. So I did that. But then, of course, the adjunctification of higher education is just an absolute travesty. So I had to shift gears. So now I'm an editor full-time, which is great. So I'm still like using my degree. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
You're like the second author that's also an editor that we've had on this show. So it's still in the same field.
Exactly.
Doing multiple jobs in it,
Yeah, exactly. I've basically worked all of the major jobs you can have with an English degree. So I've done it. And it's great. But I've tried writing books a lot of times. I've done NaNoWriMo just 10 years in a row, I think. And I finished it, but I never had anything I really liked. So it took a lot longer to be like, okay, I started this book and I'm going to finish it and then I will have a book. But I guess what did that was my first book, The Jewel, which came out, I guess, 2 years ago now. I had just finished editing my first dark romance book. And I'm like, you know what, this is kind of cool. And it just got, going at the back of my brain. And so then I just sat down and it just came out really fast.
I love when that happens.
Really fast. Yeah, it was beautiful. And so then I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And then then I got asked to do Sloth, and then I've written a sequel to The Jewel, and that's it so far. I've got a short story collection out as well, but
Okay.
Well, it sounds like you're finishing the books. Like that's
they're getting there. Like if I commit to
hurdle.
finishing one, it'll get done. I don't know when it'll get done, but it'll get done.
Who is your favorite author?
My favorite author, I have a few. Neil Gaiman is obviously, like a safe answer. I just finished reading the Locked Tomb series, or the 3 books that are out, Gideon the Ninth, and so on. And I'm actually obsessed right now. I care about almost nothing else right now than that series. Speaking of Gothic, it's like queer necromancers in space. It's
oh my gosh, that sounds awesome.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Alexandra Rowland is a great author. So most of them are a little bit more obscure, but Neil Gaiman, everybody knows.
Nice. Have you ever like met a famous author, like in person or anything like
you
that?
stole my next question.
I'm sorry. We were just on that train of thought.
No, it's fine.
Funny story. I did take Robert Pinsky to breakfast once.
Ooh.
I had an internship up at a place called the Chautauqua Institution in New York, which is basically a like hoity-toity educational colony, basically. And so they'll get in, famous authors and stuff. And I was the writer center intern, so I was driving all the authors around in the golf cart. I literally drove Robert Pinsky.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
I would put that on the resume.
Yeah. Do you find it was beneficial of you having gone into English academics when it came to writing? Because I think you're one of the first ones that went post-secondary specifically in English to before writing the book,
I'm not sure. I think it probably, in a lot of ways, it probably delayed actually finishing a book, to be honest, because you read, Joyce and Wilde and Austen and, and then I'm thinking about writing a smutty romance novel. And there's so much institutional bias against genre fiction in general that I had to unlearn some of that to a large degree. So it probably delayed some of it. And then the other stuff, it's I never felt a bias against sci-fi and fantasy, but then I'd get in my own head, it has to be really, really good, right? It has to be like Tolkien, or what am I even doing? I have this background in these books, right?
Yeah.
So I had to unlearn a lot of that. And talking to a lot of other people I went to grad school with too, if somebody was reading a smutty beach read, it took years out of grad school before anyone was openly yes, I want to read this dumb book just for fun. I don't care.
That's literally my personality now.
Yeah, it doesn't have to have any merit beyond I'm enjoying it, and that is plenty of merit. That is totally worthwhile on its own.
Yeah.
So I had to unlearn all of that, and that took a while actually.
That's really interesting. It's almost you're told what's good and what's bad, and then you just feel guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how I watch reality television.
Right?
I know it's trash. I'm not watching it for quality TV.
Exactly.
We watch trash. I read trash. We're all pandas in this little here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
ARC teams. Do you have one? And how do you go about getting them if you do?
I do, but it's very small. Most of them are my friends. I did find a few others that the other Sin authors had worked with, and they recommended them to me. And then I've just used them for the other books too, because they're oh yeah, absolutely, we want to help out. So I have a very small team, because you hear all the horror stories about pirating and stuff, and I frankly do not have the energy to go through making sure that everybody's vetted. So if something went well the first time, I'm just going to go with that.
No, absolutely. That's another thing. I was going to ask, pirating. Has a book of yours been pirated yet?
I think I saw Sloth supposedly for download on one of those random sites.
Oh no.
I've only seen it the once.
Oh wow, I never even thought of pirating for like books and stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot that like exists.
Oh yeah, it's
Oh
bad.
no.
Mhm.
Don't pirate indie authors. Like pirate
I
the big
know.
authors.
I
Leave
know.
the indies
We're
alone.
not making any money. Although, frankly, right now, even the big authors aren't making money, which is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's why they've realized that they come on TikTok because indie authors have actually made a bigger impact on TikTok, and they seen that it was like free advertising and like they were, they didn't have to pay a publisher to do it. Now they're joining TikTok, and like a lot of readers are getting annoyed. Like, no, we have a space for them, not you. Like, it's weird. I like traditionally published just as much as I love indie, but I do favor indie a little bit more.
yeah, I'll follow whoever puts out a video that it's like, yes, that's for me. That's my wheelhouse right there.
Yeah.
Whoever does it, I don't care.
I find when it like a big anything come onto TikTok for the free advertising, it's like it just feels what's the word?
Slimy.
Disingenuous.
Mhm.
It's like leave us alone. This is social media. It's like I'm not adding you to Facebook. Like I don't want to see you on TikTok either. Personal preferences. Personal preferences. That's why I love the algorithm.
Mhm.
Yes, I like that it changes it up too. Like it's not the same constantly. So it gives like
Yeah.
other people a chance to figure it out, right? But at the same time, on the flip side, it frustrates me because I could be doing really great and then all of a sudden I'll tank and I'll be like, why?
Yeah, it has definitely found me some books because it's like, oh, you're watching videos about Chinese dramas and you like indie authors. Here's an indie author writing a book inspired by Chinese dramas. I'm like, yes,
It's
that's
so
what we want
specific.
You can search up whatever you're looking for in the search bar and things actually come up and I'm like, okay, I didn't need to know I needed alien porn, but here we are and I'm loving it.
Yeah, that's been cropping up a lot lately.
Yes.
We like our tentacles here.
Yeah, we do. We've done readings.
Amazing.
So, do you write under a pen name?
Yeah, Talli Wyndham is the pen name. Yes.
Is there a specific reason for that?
Yeah, I came up with it years ago. I told you that I struggled with starting to write smutty stuff and letting myself just do that. So I'd come up with this name like years ago because the advice I'd been told at the time was that readers won't read male authors in romance. Yeah,
Oh.
this was probably, I don't know, 7-10 years ago that I was told this piece of advice. So I came up with this pen name and then just sat on it. I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger. Like I couldn't do it. And then I finally did. And so my friend who was helping me format it and put the first book together, she's like, well, what pen name do you want? So I just went with this one. And I will tell you that the first name, to go back to the geek cred, was definitely because I was playing Mass Effect at the time. So
No,
that's a Mass Effect reference, is what that is. And the Wyndham is kind of pretentious, posh. I did a lot of British literature in grad school, so that is where the pen name came from.
That's amazing. Do you have any rituals when it comes to writing? Like, do you have to set a candle? Do you have to have a certain drink? Do you have to be in a certain room, a certain music in the background?
certain food. We've had people say they have to have a certain food.
I write better on a notepad. Because if I have to hook up the laptop, get it booted up, this laptop is like 15 years old. It takes a minute. So if I have to pull it up and do all the work to get it running and just, it's such a pain in the butt. It always has to be plugged in because it's old. And it just doesn't happen. And then I started thinking when I was really struggling, I'm like, okay, so I used to write constantly, obsessively, filling notebook after notebook in high school back, before I had to work. And like, so what changed? Well, I was writing by hand back then. So I started writing by hand, and Sloth was written by hand first and then typed up.
Oh.
And it makes it's kind of like a first chance to revise as well, because you've written it out and then you're revising it as you type because you finished writing it. So then you're just typing it and you're going, oh, wait, hold on, I needed to change this. And so it's just like another moment, another way of looking at it, another way of processing it.
Okay.
I was about to say, like, what is kind of your editing process? Because we know some people that just like they write a first draft, send it to an editor. Other people are like, no, I have to edit it like 5 times before anyone can see it, you know? So yeah.
No, I do. By the time I get that first draft typed up, I'll go over it a few times and fill things in, and then I will have people read it and say, hey, this doesn't make sense, or there's something missing here, and then I'll go in and fill that in, and then do the like big edits at the end, finish everything up.
Okay.
But by the time I deliver it to anyone, it's probably 80% there.
Okay. Okay, so I gotta ask.
Mm.
Are you a wide author, or are you strictly with KU?
Strictly with KU, because I am doing it all by myself. I am lazy.
Sloth.
And it's just to go wide, it's more expensive to get the ISBNs and set it up. And it's just, a lot of people just like it on KU, especially because I'm not a very well-known author. So I find that I get most of my attention, most of my income from page reads on KU. So that works for me. If I ever have a book like magically go viral, or people are clamoring for one, then I might think about something. Or if I get some more disposable income, I might think about going wide. But for now, this is just easier.
So you recommend going with KU just because it's simple. It's a one-stop shop. Like, they do the printing, they do everything right there.
Yeah. Especially, like I said, if you're not a really well-known author, people are more likely to take a chance on reading your book if it's on Kindle Unlimited than they are going to pay money for it.
Right, because they pay for that subscription, right? Yeah. Just in case anyone doesn't know what KU is, you pay, I think now it's $12 a month, and it's unlimited. Well, you can have 20 ebooks on your Kindle, but really, once you read that book, you return the book and you grab another one. Like, it's unlimited as long as you read it, whatever. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought right there.
KU Unlimited is unlimited.
So yes, and then wide is where you go anywhere but KU, but you can sell your books like physical.
Yes.
On Amazon, but it's also in Barnes and Noble, which is in the States. Canada, it's Indigo, so on and so forth. Apple Books and whatever. I don't know what all the other ones. There's like Kobo. I don't know what other ones there are. Google Books.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, there is. It's hard to like think about it, right? But I have another question. Audible. Whoops. Hold my cord. Are you on Audible? Audible.
No. So far there are no audiobooks, because it's expensive to get that done, and doesn't always pay off.
She does sound.
If you ever need a voice actor, I work for nothing. So I'm just trying to get my voice out there. So
amazing.
Narrator.
Yeah.
She's pretty good. She has some work with she's doing a Star Wars series, I think, right now, aren't you?
Yeah, Star Wars audio drama.
That's
really
just
like
cool.
A small part in it, but it's my first like credit, so it counts.
Congratulations, that is really cool.
Thank you. So I'm just saying to all future indie authors, if I can get into audiobooks, that would be cool. That would be I'm gonna when Dawn finishes her book, I'll be your voice.
My narrator, yeah.
Your narrator, yeah. That word. I can do words. I can do words. I'm drinking. It's fine. It's fine.
Jessica, do you have any more questions? I think I asked all my questions.
I'm trying to what like you were saying you have a sequel coming out, and you write a lot of freelance. What's that freelance work that you write? Like, I'm curious.
Not as exciting as it sounds. Just copywriting. My cousin has a home remodeling business, so I write for his blog.
Oh,
that's not exciting.
No, it's interesting. It's something else on the side.
It is. And I also, I'll write short stories. I had a little bit of fun earlier this year writing creepypastas. One of them did get sold to a podcast. It hasn't been recorded yet, but I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. So that was a little something.
Did you used to write fanfics when you were younger?
Oh,
you look like you might have wrote fanfics when you were younger.
yeah. We'll give that away. Yeah,
We find like a lot of the authors were like the kids that wrote fanfics that I used to read them, so it's fine.
Yes, I wrote a lot of fan fiction. I don't write very much of it now, but I'm not going to say there's been none in the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay, I have one more question. What fandoms were you writing fan fiction for?
That follow-up question.
Hey, I gotta know.
So I think the first one I got really prolific in, and this is going to date me, was Gundam Wing. So back in the ye olde days.
The ye olde days. It wasn't even that long ago. I mean,
when that show came out, I was the age of the protagonists, and now I am over twice that. So it's been a minute. Yeah, so that was the first one that I really got into. I did some Lord of the Rings, obviously. Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. Okay.
A lot of people normally do like the Harry Potter one. What's that? Okay, I've never. Okay, confession.
No, Twilight was where it's at. Okay.
I've never watched a Harry Potter movie.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, don't do it now.
Well,
yeah,
no,
it's too
absolutely
late. You
not
missed
now.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling can,
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm done with that. Yeah.
Yes, I did also write Harry Potter fanfics, and now I will not. I'm currently working on cover-ups of Harry Potter tattoos. So.
Me too.
What was that one character though? I hear a lot of people write fanfic about that one blonde character.
Draco Malfoy?
That's the one.
I have his biography. I should read it. I just got it. It's on my TBR.
Oh, look at you getting with the lingo.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm not in the whole book community. I like books, but I'm not like in that community. So I'm
slowly pulling them in.
Well, yeah. Now she wants to do audiobooks. So.
Yeah. So I'll be in there. I'll be right by your side, Dawn.
There you go.
Slowly but surely.
That's how you do it. Like you meet people and you network, and that's how you get things done for what anybody can afford right now in today's economy.
Yes.
Perfect. So do you want to like plug any upcoming things, any links, social medias, plug everything, plug it all?
Sure. Yes, so I do have Sloth 2 coming out later this year at some point. I'm about to go out of town this weekend to go see The Cure in Cleveland, which I am.
I'm so jealous.
Oh God, here we go.
Oh yeah. There were 4 of us going. I was the only one that got the link to get in the queue to buy the tickets. So it was incredibly stressful. I'm sitting there at work, practically vibrating at my desk, like all of our hopes are on me.
Oh my gosh.
But
cries in Canadian.
Yeah, so I do
those maple syrup tears.
I mean, yeah. And I've enjoyed watching his whole like going after Ticketmaster thing has been so funny.
Yeah.
Like, you can just I picture him, he's actually a little younger than my dad, but I could see just the angry old man just sitting there, watching Ticketmaster to mess up so he can start screaming at them because he's bored and he's old, like, and I love that. I love the cranky old man thing. So
yeah.
It's been amazing. So, but I'm going to tell my friends, I'm going to take my papers for it, and I'm going to tell my friends, don't let me drink until I have done some writing.
Fair. That's good motivation.
Yeah, there you go. So it will be coming out later this year. I am Talli Wyndham on Facebook. I've got a group. I don't do much with them. I also have a TikTok. I do a little bit more with the TikTok, but still not excessively. All of my books are available on Amazon, all available in Kindle Unlimited. I've got the 3 that you can get in print and a couple of ebooks. And then I will be actually coming up with a new design hardcover for Sloth 1, because then I'll be having the matching for Sloth 2, right? So it'll still be available in this 7 Sins series cover that it's already available in, but then there'll be a different cover because a few of the other Sin authors came out with hardbacks that people were like, oh, this is awesome. So they want like hardbacks with original designs for the whole series too. Okay, I guess that's what I've got to do now. So that'll be fun and worth keeping an eye out for once I figure out what direction I want to go with.
We'll have to have you back like when Sloth 2 comes out, because we'll want a little taste about that.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. There are, if you read Sloth and you're like, Sal is it and I love him, which for some reason people do, there are a couple of Sal stories in the Sundry and Spice short story collection that is available, which was named for my favorite bar here in Cincinnati.
Nice. So I'll put some links to some of those things in the description, so
Awesome.
they'll be easily accessible to people out there. So
yes,
awesome.
You hear that, listeners? You hear that? Now, I just want to say once again, thank you so much for coming on, and I definitely relate to Sloth. Like,
oh yeah.
I liked Greed, but Sloth seems to be my person now. Like, I just need that.
Yeah, no,
I feel like it's a pretty decent palate cleanser through the series. Like the others are really dark and intense and just brutal. And this is everything I write. I'm going to be at least a little bit amusing because I think I'm hysterical, and that's going to translate to everything else I do. So it's probably going to be a little bit funnier than any of the others.
We love humor.
We do. Technically, we're a comedy podcast, so yeah.
I had a hard childhood, so I'm funny.
It's the trauma that does it.
Yeah.
It's okay though. I'm self-aware about it. So
yeah,
same here.
That counts as a green flag.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Talli Wyndham, for coming on. Again, I will have all the links below in the description, and we will definitely have you on when Sloth 2 comes out, because that sounds awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been really a fun way to spend the evening.
Thank you so much for coming on. And also say bye-bye to your doggo for me.
All right, he's asleep over there acting put upon because it's not a pillow, it's just random furniture, but sure, yeah, I will.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and I'll see you next week with another author. Have a good night.
Good
Bye.
night.